like to turn now to the issue that is percolating among the headlines at the moment. And you're a Perak native. You've been MP for Larut, your hometown, I believe, since 2008. So you have experienced being a pro-government MP during the administrations of Barisan Nasional, Pakatan Harapan, and Perikatan Nasional, as well as currently you're in the opposition under the Madani government. So you have experienced firsthand the discrepancy when it comes to constitutional development funds, or CDF, let's call that for short, yeah? Yet, despite the difficulties that you face as you've experienced as both MP for government and opposition, you, or Perikatan Nasional, they've rejected the draft MoU proposed by the Madani government that would provide this funding for opposition members. Are you renegotiating these terms, or are you completely against the idea of an MoU for CDF?
I would like to start on the history. CDF actually was promoted by PH during the general election. They told everyone in this country, if they want, they would like to see everyone, each individual will get the CDF. We, in the other hand, would like to see that this is a fair distribution of whatever fund that we have. Then, at the moment when I saw what Fadila came out with a statement to say, there's some distribution that they would like, some obligation that they would like Perikatan Nasional to do based on the MoU. You know, initially they said the MoU is a secret, it is not, and it's got to be rahasia. But now I would like to tell you, Shazana, and they changed it and say, okay, I would like everyone to know about the MoU.
So I read the MoU, I read the draft MoU. There is actually a clause there that says this is meant to be open and made public. This was a similar clause that was under the first MoU that was signed under Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri's premiership. Are you saying that that clause wasn't present in the draft that was given to you?
Yeah, of course. The thing is like this now. Once they put that as rahasia, and I would like to, everyone to understand here, we study. Why is it got to be secret? If it is under Official Secrecy Act, we have got to be very careful to understand what an MoU for.
Okay.
And we study each and every one of the clauses that have been given to us.
Okay.
So we realized, hey, this MoU now is something that will not, I don't want to use, not to shut us up, but I think maybe it is a way, very subtly, of changing the constitution. Don't you think that the most important thing in our country is to uphold the constitution? You must look at certain clauses there. And that's why I immediately replied and I said that we disagree with the MoU based on the 4 fundamental grounds.
That's right. Let's go into that. So in your statement on 15 September, you cited 4 factors for rejecting the MoU. The first one was that the MoU violates the federal constitution by threatening the rights and privileges of Malays and Bumiputras. Can you explain to me, how does the draft MoU do that? How does it affect the rights of Malays and Bumiputras when in the draft text it specifically states that the federal constitution, which enshrines these protections, that's the basis for this agreement?
You see, when you talk about fundamental, you talk about, you have to talk about something which is stable and consistent to whatever that you have said in the MoU.
Right.
Here you said based on the constitution. But when it comes to the detailed part, you go against the constitution.
Can you share with me what detailed part that is?
I'll give you one example. Like, okay. In one of the clauses there, age, I don't know whether I should read it.
Please feel
Can
free. Of course.
Ahli Parlimen tersebut selanjutnya mengakui dan mengisytiharkan bahawa Perlembagaan Persekutuan dan sistem demokrasi berparlimen yang diamalkan di Malaysia adalah berdasarkan prinsip bahawa semua manusia dilahirkan bebas dan saksama, fair, bermaruah, fair, mempunyai hak asasi dan kebebasan tanpa sebarang perbezaan dari segi bangsa, warna kulit, etnik atau agama, dan mempunyai hak untuk mendapat perlindungan sesama daripada sebarang bentuk diskriminasi atau hasutan terhadap sebarang bentuk diskriminasi. And I tell you, when you talk about privileges
that's Article 8 of the Constitution, Dato' Sri.
No. You look at Article 153. It is a discrimination because we give privileges to the Malays rights.
And I think that's recognized also in Article 8, which looks at the broader situation. So
No.
I would disagree to say that that clause it discounts Article 153. But I take that's how you interpret this wording.
Yeah.
So you're not happy with how this is worded?
That's why I said it is a subtle way of changing the Constitution.
Okay, so are you going to come back to them then with other alternative wording? Because they have said they're open to negotiations. Will you be negotiating for wording
Yeah,
that?
if they call us for a negotiation, it's a different thing. But now they would like us just to answer and say, okay, that's it. If they give it to us and say, okay, now why don't we form a committee and we sit down whether this is okay or not? Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so you want them to take the role. You want them to invite you to the meeting room and have this discussion. You're not going to make the first move, essentially.
I mean, this is what we used to do when we were in the government before, during Ismail Sabri.
Okay.
I was the one who chaired the committee.
You called them, you invited them, you made all the
and
arrangements.
we sit down and say, okay, this is this. What do you think? And say, okay, this is fair, this is not fair, we would like to do this, we want to include this and this. And I said, okay.
Okay.
That should be the way.
Understood.
Not by just giving us like this. And I said, hey, what is this?
Understood. I want to ask, would you agree to an MoU that was similar in content and spirit as to what was decided during Datuk Sri Ismail
Why
Sabri's
not?
time? So if the wording was the same as that,
Yeah.
maybe with updates just to reflect the current situation,
Why not?
you would be happy to sign on to that MoU for
Right,
CDF.
yeah. As long as it is fair for everyone, and I think we should go ahead
Okay.
with it.
All right. I mean, I think that's a great point, and I hope the government is listening. I want to come back to the stance of Bersatu. I think Bersatu and Perikatan Nasional. So you have a very staunch position as defenders of Malay rights and Bumiputra rights, and that was the main reason given for rejecting this MoU. I want to get your thoughts on what you think the Madani government is doing that's threatening or harming the rights and privileges of Malay Bumiputra. So you pointed out this wording in this MoU as one such thing. Are there any other initiatives or policies that you see being implemented to this effect, or is it still
Of course.
in the form of rhetoric? Are we still looking at just rhetorical statements
No,
that you see?
No, it is not rhetoric. Because why I said this? No, when you talk about another clause here, I mentioned it. See, they mentioned about, let me read it here again. Ahli Parlimen tersebut juga menyatakan komitmen bahawa beliau akan menahan diri dari membuat sebarang kenyataan atau ucapan atau perbuatan sama ada secara lisan atau bukan lisan yang bersifat kebencian atau menggunakan sebarang bentuk bahasa yang merendahkan atau mendiskriminasikan mana-mana pihak atau kumpulan sama ada atas dasar agama, kaum, etnik, warna kulit, asal-usul, jantina, kewarganegaraan atau apa-apa faktor identiti yang lain. What kind of identity you're talking about?
Okay.
You know, we talk about value system in our country. I think the values in our society is different. And don't compare ourselves with some Western countries there.
Okay, I don't think
That's why I say we would like to sit down and say, hey, what is this?
Okay.
You know, we have to be proper here. If you say that you want to follow our constitution, a basic principle in our MoU got to be with fundamentally according to our constitution.
Okay, understood, Dato' Sri.
That's why I answered you just now by saying, hey, Yes, don't do it very subtle of changing the constitution. By us agreeing to this, if you want to change the constitution by putting all sort of things,
I would argue, Datuk Sri, that it takes a lot to change the constitution.
Correct.
They would still need to table it in Parliament, have it debated, have it voted on.
Correct.
And I think it's not something that they can do through this MoU.
through the MoU,
But-
shouldn't do that.
But so I take your point. You need to discuss it with them. I want to